Welcome to the Not Today Karen channel. Today we have a story about Karen and her attempt to steal a PS5, which turned out to be a surprise. Please tell us where you're watching from and then what you liked about the story. Well, let's get started. Alright, so before you judge me, let me just say, I did not intend for Karen to get bitten by a snake. I mean, technically, she didn't. But did she deserve the absolute nightmare she brought upon herself? Oh, absolutely. It all started on a regular Thursday. I was on my way to the pet store to get some frozen mice for my snakes. Yeah, you read that right. Snakes. Plural. Ball pythons, to be specific. And before you start imagining me as some creepy dude in a basement with cages stacked to the ceiling, let me clarify. I'm just a regular guy who happens to like reptiles. And my babies, Monty and Noodle, needed food. Now, carrying snakes in public tends to freak people out. The last time I casually walked into a store with a snake draped around my shoulders, I got yelled at by a manager and nearly banned. So, I figured discretion is key. I needed something to carry the terrarium in without drawing attention. That's when I saw it, the empty PlayStation 5 box in my trunk. It was perfect. Sturdy, unassuming, and just the right size for Monty and Noodle's enclosure. I placed the terrarium inside, tucked a towel over it to keep them cozy, and headed into the pet store with my PS5. Now, let me tell you, walking through a store holding a PS5 box attracts attention. People looked at me like I was carrying the Holy Grail. Employees side-eyed me. Some dude in the aisle whispered, "Bro, where did you even find one?" But hey, I just kept my head down, grabbed the mice, and went to check out. That's when Karen entered the scene. I didn't notice her at first. She was your standard issue Karen, shoulder-length bob, oversized sunglasses, and an entitled aura so strong I swear it created its own gravitational pull. She had a kid with her, some brat around 10 years old, who was in full meltdown mode about not getting a new game console. And then she saw me. More specifically, she saw the PS5 box in my hands. Her eyes locked on it like a heat-seeking missile. "Excuse me," she said, stepping directly into my path. "Where did you get that?" I blinked. Get what?" She pointed at my box. "The PlayStation 5. Are they selling them here?" I should have just said no and walked away. But no, being the awkward idiot that I am, I hesitated. And in that brief pause, she assumed the worst. "You're scalping them, aren't you?" she accused, her voice rising. "What? No, this isn't." But she wasn't listening. "My son has been begging for a PS5 for months. And people like you buy them all up just to resell them for triple the price." I sighed. "Lady, this isn't a..." "How much?" she shrieked. "Oh, for the love of..." "I'm not selling it," I said, sidestepping her. "Have a nice day." That should have been the end of it. I should have walked out of that store and gone home, never seeing her again. But this was Karen we're talking about. I was just a few steps from my car when I heard the rapid clack, clack, clack of her heels behind me. And before I could react, she grabbed my box and yanked it out of my hands. Now, I don't know what she was expecting. Maybe she thought I'd just let her steal my PS5 out of sheer shock. Maybe she thought I'd chase her, causing a scene. But here's what actually happened. The moment she pulled the box away, the towel shifted, the terrarium inside tipped slightly, and bam! Monty, my 3-foot ball python, slithered halfway out of the box. Karen screamed. Like, really screamed. To be fair, if I had unknowingly stolen a box of snakes, I'd probably scream too. But she took it to a whole new level, flailing, shrieking, stumbling backwards, shaking the box like she was trying to get rid of a bomb. And then it happened. She dropped it. The box hit the pavement, the lid flew open, and both Monty and Noodle, now very unhappy, spilled out onto the sidewalk. Karen went full banshee mode. "Oh my God. Snakes. They're everywhere. They're going to kill me." Her kid started wailing. Bystanders jumped back like I'd unleashed venomous cobras into the wild. Someone screamed, "Call animal control." Meanwhile, I just stood there, watching my poor, confused snakes try to make sense of their sudden escape into chaos. And then, as if this situation wasn't insane enough, Karen fainted. Right there, in the middle of the parking lot. So there I was, standing in the middle of a pet store parking lot, watching Karen crumple to the ground like a bad Wi-Fi connection. Meanwhile, my two poor, completely harmless snakes were now free-range reptiles. Monty, my adventurous little guy, was already slithering toward a nearby shopping cart, probably wondering why the sun was so damn bright. Noodle, the shyer of the two, just coiled up near the box, clearly regretting every life choice that led him to this moment. And then there was Karen's kid. If I thought Karen's scream was bad, this kid made her sound like a freaking librarian. Ah, it's gonna eat MOM. Help. Somebody kill it. Bro, they're ball pythons. They're literally the equivalent of puppy dogs in the snake world. But try explaining that to a kid who thinks we're in the middle of some low-budget horror movie. People were freaking out. A guy with a shopping bag full of dog treats yelled, "Someone call 911." A lady pushing a stroller snatched her toddler up like the snakes were about to form a gang and jumped them. A teenage employee with a name tag reading Todd poked his head out of the store, saw Karen on the ground, saw me, saw the snakes, and just whispered, "What the actual F?" before deciding that whatever his minimum wage paid him, it was not enough for this mess. I knew I had approximately 10 seconds before someone decided to do something truly stupid, like try to rescue Karen by launching Monty into orbit. So, I did what any responsible snake owner would do. I took a deep breath and said, "Everybody calm down." Spoiler alert, nobody calmed down. Karen's kid, now fully convinced his mom had been killed by a venomous anaconda, picked up a juice box from his backpack and freaking chucked it at Monty. Chucked it. Now, Monty is a lot of things. Cute, wiggly, a fan of warm hidey holes. But you know what he's not? A damn dodgeball champion. The juice box bounced off the pavement next to him, and poor Monty freaked out. He flinched, did a quick panic coil, and then, because clearly his little noodle brain had decided, welp, time to move, he slithered straight under a nearby parked car. Perfect. Just freaking perfect. Meanwhile, Karen started stirring. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen an entitled woman regain consciousness after fainting in a parking lot due to self-inflicted snake robbery, but let me tell you, it's a sight to behold. She blinked. She twitched. Her eyes focused. And then, like a rage-powered zombie, she sat bolt upright, pointed a shaky, manicured finger at me, and screamed, You did this. You attacked me with snakes. Ma'am, please. Now, a sane person would have taken a moment to reflect on their life choices. Maybe realized that, oh, I don't know, stealing someone else's property was a bad idea. But not Karen. Karen decided to double down. She scrambled to her feet, turned to the crowd that was still very much watching this train wreck unfold, and bellowed, "He tried to kill me. He set snakes on me. He needs to be arrested." Arrested? For what? Being the victim of snake theft. But before I could even begin to process the sheer audacity of her accusations, I heard the worst thing possible. Wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo. Oh, fantastic. Somebody actually called the cops. So to recap, Karen stole my PS5, which was actually a box of snakes. She screamed like she was being attacked by demons when she realized what was inside. She fainted, causing absolute chaos. My snake, Monty, slithered under a car. Karen woke up, went full rage mode, and accused me of biological warfare via reptiles. And now, the cops were here. 2 squad cars rolled up, sirens blaring, because of course, someone called 911 over a couple of harmless ball pythons. A few officers stepped out, looking between me, Karen, who was dramatically clutching her chest, and the growing crowd of people who had absolutely nothing better to do than witness this glorious disaster unfold. Now, I want to make one thing very clear. I am not the type of person who looks calm and trustworthy when the cops show up. I am the type of person who looks like a prime suspect in a Dateline special even when I've done nothing wrong. So when one of the officers, a tall dude with mirrored sunglasses, walked up and said, "Sir, step away from the woman," I immediately panicked. Wait, what? What? Ma'am, do you need medical attention? The officer asked Karen, ignoring me completely. Karen gasped like she was an actress in a low-budget soap opera. That man, she pointed at me like I was a convicted war criminal, tried to kill me with a box of poisonous snakes. Oh, they're not poisonous, I snapped. They're ball pythons. Completely harmless. Then why did I almost die? You stole my box. I yelled, throwing my arms in the air. How is that my fault? The cops exchanged looks. One of them, a short, stocky guy with a clipboard, sighed and rubbed his temple. All right, let's get some statements. What exactly happened? I tried to explain it like a rational human being. I told them how I had my snakes in the PS5 box to avoid scaring people, how Karen ripped it out of my hands, and how she had a full public meltdown when she realized she had committed felony-level animal theft. Karen, however, told a very different story. Officer, she said, shifting into peak victim mode. I was simply walking with my son when this man, she said man like it was a slur, started waving a PlayStation box around and taunting people. He was trying to sell it illegally. When I confronted him, he suddenly threw the box at me, and all these demonic snakes lunged at me. The officer turned to me, clearly waiting for my reaction. I just stared at her. Do you even hear yourself? You think I just randomly hurled a box of snakes at you? In public? In broad daylight? Karen flipped her hair dramatically. That's exactly what happened. You stole the box, I said, pointing at the empty PS5 packaging, which was still lying on the ground. I never threw anything. The officer frowned, glancing down at the box. So you're saying you were carrying your snakes in this? Yes, I said, because people tend to overreact when they see them out in the open. As if on cue, someone screamed. It's moving. I turned. Monty, apparently deciding he had seen enough human stupidity for one lifetime. He had emerged from under the parked car and was casually slithering onto the pavement, looking for somewhere better to be. Karen lost it again. Oh my God, it's coming back for revenge. It's a snake, not Liam Neeson. I yelled, but it was too late. One of the cops, clearly not a reptile guy, jumped back and reached for his taser. Oh hell no. Wait. I shouted, stepping between him and Monty. He's harmless. Look, I'll pick him up. The cop hesitated, hand still hovering near his belt. You're sure it won't bite? He's a ball python, not a viper. I said, exasperated. Dude, the worst thing he's ever done is refuse to eat his dinner. I slowly knelt down, extended my hand, and let Monty slither onto my arm. He curled up lazily, looking utterly unbothered by the chaos unfolding around him. I held him up like, see? Perfectly fine. The cops relaxed. The crowd, however, did not. Karen's kid screeched and hid behind his mom. Someone else muttered, that thing is disgusting. A random guy in a baseball cap filmed the whole thing on his phone, probably planning to upload it with some clickbait title like, Crazed Man Sets Snakes Loose in Grocery Store Parking Lot. Karen, meanwhile, saw her moment to strike. Officer, she said, putting on her best fake concerned voice. Even if he didn't attack me on purpose, he still brought dangerous animals in public. What if one had bitten a child? What if it had crawled into someone's car? These creatures should be put down. I nearly dropped Monty. Put down? Are you insane? They're wild animals, she shrieked. They don't belong here. They're pets. I shot back. And you know what else doesn't belong here? Thieves. The officer with the clipboard held up a hand. All right, enough. We'll check the store's security cameras. If the footage shows she grabbed your box without permission, she'll be charged with attempted theft. I smirked at Karen. Oh, this is gonna be good. Her face went ghost white. Why you can't seriously be taking his side, she sputtered. The officer shrugged. If what he's saying is true, then yeah, we are. Karen looked around, probably hoping someone would back her up. But the crowd was done with her. Even Karen's kid was looking at her like, Mom, I think you screwed up. For the first time, she had no backup. She clenched her jaw, red-faced, but said nothing. And that's when I knew. She was screwed. So there we were, me holding Monty, Karen sweating bullets, and the cops getting ready to check the security footage to see who was actually the criminal here. Spoiler alert, it wasn't me. Karen, for all her bravado, was starting to look really nervous. Probably because she realized that security cameras don't lie. I, on the other hand, was thriving. Hey, officer, I said casually, adjusting Monty on my arm. Since we're reviewing footage, Make sure to check the moment where she yanked the box out of my hands. I wouldn't want her to accidentally forget that part. Karen shot me a glare so sharp it could cut steel. The officer ignored both of us and spoke into his radio. Dispatch, we need security footage access from the pet store entrance. A few minutes later, one of the store's managers, a tired-looking guy with a name tag that said Dave, came out, holding a tablet. We already pulled it up, Dave said. He turned the screen so we could all see. The whole thing is pretty clear. The video played. There I was, minding my business, walking out of the store with my very normal, very not-for-sale box. Then Karen appeared, intercepted me like a linebacker, grabbed my box, and ripped it away like she was in a Black Friday riot. I smirked. One of the officers paused the video and looked at Karen. Ma'am, do you have anything to say for yourself? Karen's face cycled through about 10 emotions in 3 seconds. Denial, panic, rage, regret, and some combination of, I'm about to cry, and I'm about to commit arson. Finally, she folded her arms and spat out. I was just trying to get my son a PlayStation. The officer sighed. That's not how purchasing works, ma'am. That's attempted theft. Karen's eye twitched. But he was waving it around. He was trying to scalp it. The officer looked back at the footage. He rewound it. Played it again. Nothing. No waving it around. No scalping. Just me, walking to my car like a normal person, and her going full criminal mastermind for no reason. Then the officer did something beautiful. He turned off the tablet, clipped it to his belt, and pulled out his citation pad. Karen froze. Ma'am, you're being cited for attempted theft and causing a public disturbance, he said, already writing her up. Oh, but it got better. Since you falsely accused this man of a crime, that also qualifies as filing a false police report. Karen's jaw hit the pavement. You can't do this, she screeched. I fainted. I had a medical emergency. I was the victim here. The officer gave her the blonkiest stare I've ever seen. Then you should have stayed on the ground instead of getting up and making a scene. I swear, I heard a random guy in the crowd whisper, damn. Karen snatched the ticket from his hand like it was burning her fingers. This is ridiculous, she shrieked. I'm going to fight this. I'll call my lawyer. I'll sue this whole store for emotional distress. The officer didn't even blink. Good luck with that, ma'am. You can leave now. Karen's face turned about 6 different shades of red, but she had no comeback. She was officially defeated. She grabbed her kid's hand and stomped away toward her car. But just before she left, she whirled around and hissed at me. You ruined my son's day. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'm sorry. Was it my fault you tried to commit snake theft? She let out this feral growl of frustration, turned on her heel, and sped off in her minivan. And just like that, Karen was gone. With Karen officially vanquished, the parking lot started returning to normal. The crowd that had gathered slowly dispersed, some shaking their heads, some chuckling, and at least one dude still recording like he was about to drop the hottest Karen gets own video on YouTube. The cop with the citation pad turned to me. You good? I looked down at Monty, who was still chilling on my arm like nothing happened. Noodle, meanwhile, was still sitting near the fallen PS5 box, probably questioning why humans were so loud and dramatic. Yeah, I said, shaking my head. Just another day of people losing their minds over nothing. The cop smirked. Well, just be careful carrying stuff like that in public. Apparently, PlayStation boxes are a security risk. I laughed. Noted. After the cops left, the pet store manager, Dave, gave me a 10% discount on my frozen mice for the trouble. Honestly, best part of the whole day. I carefully placed Monty and Noodle back into their terrarium, tucked it into the now Karen-tainted PS5 box, and finally, headed home. A few things happened after the great snake heist of the century. Firstly, the video went viral. Yep, that random guy who was filming uploaded it. Karen steals PS5, but it's full of snakes. The comments were a goldmine. This is why you don't steal, folks. Imagine explaining this to your insurance company. Justice has never been so scaly. Secondly, Karen actually tried to fight the citation. She marched into court and claimed I had set a trap. The judge laughed her out of the room. She ended up paying the fine and got banned from the pet store. Thirdly, I became a local legend. For weeks, people would randomly ask me, "Hey, you that snake guy?" Someone even made a meme of Monty popping out of the box with the caption, "You wanted a PS5, but you got an SSS3 instead." Fourthly, Monty and Noodle became celebrities. My friends started calling them the Justice Snakes. One buddy bought them a tiny plastic PlayStation for their enclosure. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Moral of the story? Don't steal from strangers. Because sometimes, just sometimes, that PS5 you're trying to snatch might be full of snakes. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments whether you liked everything, and see you next time.